One of the first points I wanted to focus on was Baldwin's version of a social construct. Right in the beginning of the reading, he stated how there is no such thing as whiteness or blackness. I tried to connect that to in chapter one in I can't say his name correctly. Trevino states that the social process by which the people define a social problem into existence. So at first, there's a social construct and how it's made. Um, in the reading, he gives off an example as to being black, and in how it coming to privileged America, it's all changed. So he gives us a statement of a black woman walking down the street in her utopia in her area. And that is, she's not defined as a black woman. She's defined as just a woman. She's defined by maybe her hair, how her hair looks, or the clothes, but not as being black and putting so much so much context and so much air into the skin color of the color of her skin. Um, and like I said, you're known for not who you are, but the color of your skin, and which that is how the social construction came about and started to make, and it turned into a social problem. Um, Next, I wanted to get into the social construct reality. I want to start off by saying one of the quotes that were in the reading. There is a world of difference between using a wheelchair and being treated as a human being. Not a matter of the disability, but how it is constructed into society and how then we make use of that construction in our minds and shape that into what we think. And how that basically the result of what we believe others would want and want to feel like and want to be treated as. And that, for one, is a social problem for the other group, for the oppressed group. And I kind of wanted to focus on this one more so any other statement that was made because I have found myself in time, honestly, treating someone who has a disability um, with more patience, um, not being more caring, but more aware of what they can and can't do, and honestly, kind of babying them and babying what they're actually capable of doing, and not treating them as I would treat someone else who doesn't have this disability, um, which is a problem. And I didn't realize that I actually am part of that group. Um, and it's a social problem because it is a social um, sorry, it's an event or pattern or behavior that is negatively affects the well-being of a significant number of people who believe that the condition, event, or pattern needs to be changed, and it does need to be changed. I've never talked to anyone with a disability one on one, but I have heard and I do know that it is something that they want to be treated like we do. They want to treat it normally. Honestly, they want to be treated like they don't have a disability because their disability does not define them. What defines them is what we all use to define a person, their personality, what they do, what they don't do, things like that. The next one I wanted to point out was the sexual orientation privilege. Heterosexuals can marry as a way to commit to a long term relationship that is socially recognized, supported. Um, this phase confers basic rights such as spousal health benefits, the ability to adopt children, inheritance, joint filing of income, tax returns, and the power to make decisions for a spouse who is incapacitated in a medical emergency. And right away, I decided to compare this to one of the stories or movies that we had to read. I not read. I'm sorry. Watch. I watched the documentary of Edie and Thea, A Very Long Engagement, and it connected that that whole entire block where they were talking about the benefits of honestly being a heterosexual is right now because of all the rights that they have, how others don't look at them a certain type of way, how they're treated is completely different. Um, and so you don't, because I am heterosexual, I do not see the other side until I was able to see the documentary. And like they said, a heterosexual can marry as a way to commit a long term relationship. In the documentary, it off gate it says they have a very long engagement because they were not able to marry. They had to actually fly out to get married because where they were from or where they were living, it wasn't accepted. It wasn't allowed. And they wanted to be able to at least spend a couple more years that they had left together being married. And that was just a benefit that for us is just an everyday thing. We can get married if we want to and not be looked down upon compared to Edie and Thea. Edie, sorry, they were most definitely looked down upon and looked at a certain way. They couldn't show their love for each other in public without consequences, you know? So that's one connection I decided to make. Next is the marginalization. Marginal, sorry, I cannot say that word right. Are people in the system of labor that cannot and will not use older people and increasingly, I'm sorry, I did not say the sentence right. Oh, and increasing of people who are not very old but getting laid off from their jobs and cannot find work due to not being able to do certain tasks. I tried to compare it with, I believe it was chapter 6 in aging, and that was the last chapter that we focused on, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I'm sorry. I try to compare it with generational inequity, a situation in which older age members of society receive a disproportionate share of their society's resources relative to younger members, just because their age difference and what they can and can't do, they're being laid off and not being or cannot have a certain role or get any income due to it could be because of a job, of what their benefits are, or if their body can't necessarily handle it or take it anymore. And that's how I try to connect that one. Lastly, I did the social identities, the cycle of socialization, Bobby Harrow. Social identities predispose us to an unequal role in the dynamic system of oppression. We are then socialized by powerful sources in our words to play. Sorry, words to play the roles prescribed by an inequitable social system. And I tried to compare that with the documentary that we had to watch about the black females and how we are predisposed to being we're stuck with a stigma all the time because of the color of our skin or what society thinks we are, um, and we are an oppressed group. We're not just females; we're black females who can't get certain jobs due to the way that we look or our hair texture or how we dress or how we talk. Um, and that was the last one that I decided to use. Thank you.